In the last 12 months, Ciera bought 8 properties in Detroit, Michigan by leveraging other people's money. In this video, I sit down with her to learn how she went from investing in California to then investing in Detroit, Michigan. And make sure to stay until the end of the video because we break down exactly how she was able to scale her real estate business completely remotely. Let's dive in. Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm sitting down with Ciera.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here and finally meet you in person.
Of course, yes. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
So let's start it off with your real estate investing journey. Go from like the very, very beginning, like why real estate and what made you want to start investing in real estate?
Yeah, great question. So I started my real estate journey back in, let's say, 2014 when I first became a realtor. I was working with Keller Williams. I was doing that part-time while I was working in corporate. And then I have a big, strong financial background. So I decided to go off on my own and become a mortgage broker.
Gotcha.
So I can stay in real estate. And I had purchased my first home in 2015. And from there, I just started acquiring rental properties out here in California. So I have 2 now out here. And then I just sold one a couple years ago. But I had decided that I wanted to keep building my portfolio. So me and a team of other investors, we created this investment group back in 2019, and we just decided to go into the Detroit market. And so from there, I was like, well, I wanted to build my rental portfolio. And in 2023, we were starting to gain more traction, more investors that wanted to partner with myself and our team. So that's when I found FlipSystems, and I started watching a lot of your videos because I wanted to get a better understanding on how I could really grow our investment team. And so I went out to Detroit last year and spent 2 months out there because I really wanted to understand the lay of the land and, the neighborhoods. Yeah. And so far, after joining FlipSystems, I'm on flip number 4, and I bought my first rental property over the summer as well.
Amazing.
So that's like the Cliff Notes version of how I got into this because, I'm in mortgage, I do real estate, and I decided I wanted to take it to the next level and start doing more investment flips and just build a team and do something out of state. So that's how I got into this.
Congrats.
Thank
you. And then so you bought rental properties in California. Mm-hmm. Were those in like Orange County, LA? Where were those?
Great question. So my first property was actually my primary residence. I bought that in Anaheim.
Okay.
And then from there, I decided to buy something in Inglewood, like directly across from the the stadium. So I just bought that in 22. And then when my dad passed away, I inherited one of his properties out in Menifee, Riverside area. So that's how I was able to start building my portfolio out here in California. But as you know, the price points out here are extremely expensive. So for me to keep the momentum going to start adding more to my portfolio, I decided to go out of state. And Detroit came on my radar because I'm in mortgage. So one of my big investors, UWM, is out in Detroit. So, and also my best friend's out in Detroit. So I started going out there a lot. And then when the team that I'm with, we decided to do Detroit because we have some other ties out there, it just made sense.
Yeah.
And the cash flow opportunities and the return on my investment opportunities were really great out in Detroit. So that's why I chose Detroit.
Gotcha. Okay. And then are you still a realtor, mortgage broker?
I'm still a mortgage broker. I'm not doing real estate anymore at this point. I do plan on getting back into it, but I decided that, mortgage is more of my lane, and I really enjoy the renovation and flips. That's my thing. I don't really want to do too much in real estate right now. Yeah.
Gotcha. And then this group that you were investing with, were you guys flipping houses in California or?
No. So everyone that's in the group are all homeowners, either here in California or we have a couple of partners out in New Jersey.
Yeah.
So we decided to start doing flips in Detroit again because of the price points and because of the partnerships and relationships that we already kind of started establishing out in Detroit.
Gotcha. And did you guys start flipping houses there before FlipSystem?
Yes. So our first flip was in 2019. And I'll be honest, that was a disaster, because we didn't know, again, the areas. We didn't really have our whole team put together. And what attracted me to FlipSystems was I liked how you guys offer everything in terms of turnkey. You have your construction coach, you partner us with a realtor, you help us identify the right areas. And so that was the information or mentorship that we were lacking with our first flip. So that's why when I stumbled upon FlipSystems, I felt this is a great opportunity to kind of help strengthen our game plan and as to what we're doing. And that's how this came about.
Gotcha. Let's talk about the disaster deal. What the hell happened?
First of all, the contractor, number one, that was the biggest thing that held us up with our project, and we lost a lot of money with that. And then also just the location of where we had flipped at, because we didn't really do enough homework as to like to identify like the high demand areas that were like, you know, on the rise. So we just kind of got into the wrong deal. You know, we didn't lose a ton of money, but it was a small flip. So it was more of a learning experience. And so we were able to kind of take away from that and see what we're going to do better. But the main reason why it went south was because of the construction team. I mean, we realized like we have to have a solid team and boots on the ground out there. Otherwise, you know, people, they know you're from out of state, they're gonna just run all over you.
Exactly.
You fly out there, next thing you know, you see your house has been sitting for several months. It's like, what happened? Yeah. So then we had to like find a new contractor to kind of come in and clean up the mess that the old contractor, you know, messed up with. Those little nuances like delayed us significantly, and that's how we kind of lost money on that first deal. But now, which is why I decided to spend a lot of time in Detroit, because now that I know the areas and the zip codes and the blocks, as you know, it's block by block. That's what I learned from you. I was able to say, hey, okay, now when a deal comes across my desk, I already know if it's a good deal or not, just because now I know the lay of the land out there.
Exactly. And what year was that flip that you guys tried to do in Detroit?
That was in 2019.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and it took us a little over a year to like finish it. And the good thing is we paid cash for it. That was our first time, you know, doing something. We just kind of put our resources together, and then we had some other investors kind of join in with the project. So it was, again, since it was a small flip and we didn't have all these extra contingencies with having a loan and stuff like that. So that kind of helped us, you know, get out of that deal fairly quickly.
Gotcha. And then did you just like, how'd you find the team, like the realtor and the contractor? Did you find a realtor?
Yeah, so how this came about with that 2019 deal, one of my partners, his cousin-in-law was doing real estate out there at the time. And so he had brought us a deal, and he had brought us a contractor. And we thought that he kind of knew enough of what he was doing. So we kind of relied heavily on his expertise. But now come to find out, you know, we need to be more experts to be able to identify like who's going to be working for us in the right way on the ground. So that's kind of how that went down.
Gotcha. And that deal took a year?
It took a year because then we ran into like weather. So then,
COVID, no?
COVID. Yes. Yeah. Towards the end, then we started having COVID. So, you know, that it just was a lot of like different things that kept popping up. So once we finally got out of that deal, we took about 6 months to kind of woosah, like figure out what our next move is. And then, after COVID, that's when we decided to kind of get back into it. And so, and going back to how I stumbled upon you guys, when I found FlipSystem, I started watching a lot of videos, and I decided like this would be the best move to kind of help me get organized and train my brain as to what the right flip needs to look like, and how we need to organize our strategies and our boots on the ground as well to make sure it's successful.
Love that. Awesome. And then when did you join FlipSystem? A year ago?
I joined, was this 2024, beginning of 23. So it was like around February.
Oh, shit.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, February 23 is when I joined.
Wow. So you almost been 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. That's great. And so you said earlier you spent 2 months in Detroit last year?
Yeah, no, earlier this year. Earlier this year, let me back up a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is this, 2024? I know, time is like flying.
I know, right?
Was that 24? Yeah, that was. Okay, so 2023, when I joined you guys, you had helped me partner with my team out there, and then we had a really successful flip that we ended up selling in the beginning of January this year. Okay. And so at that point, you know, I've been flying back and forth to Detroit, learning enough, you know, as much as I can. But then I have an opportunity to like, you know what, let me just go to Detroit. My best friend lives out there, and I work remote. So I was like, let me just stay out there for a couple of months. I have nothing else better to do right now. And I actually loved it. You know, I got a chance to like meet some really great people out there and network, and kind of take the team that you had partnered me with to the next level. So I was able to kind of cultivate my own relationships out there.
Love that.
I got a chance to partner with some new realtors.
I found my own direction. Okay.
I started to like partner with found some new contractors. Not to say what you guys provided was, you know, wrong or bad, but I had an opportunity like, hey, let me take what's been working and try to like cultivate my own relationships.
Amazing.
So I was able to kind of partner with like one lady, for example, I partnered with out there. She's part of like the community planning out in Detroit. So I was able to have some extensive discussions with her for her to like tell me, hey, there's going to be doing some major projects in this area. You should kind of look for flips in this location or look for buy and holds in this area. So I was able to kind of put my own boots on the ground that I formed some friendships with. So when I go back home, I felt a little bit more confident with what we were doing.
Love that.
So that's 2 months. I was like driving down blocks, kind of mapping out my locations with the zip codes, and I had fun out there. So now, so that was from February to April. I stayed out there, and that was earlier this year. So now I've been flying back and forth to Detroit like every other month. I've been out there at least 9 times this year. Like I just flew back last night from Detroit.
Oh my God.
Working. I have a couple projects going on right now that I had to check on. So I was out there for 2 weeks.
Okay. And so you joined February of 23. How many deals have you guys done since then?
We've successfully completed 3 flips, and I bought my first rental property that I'm working on. So so fast forward, it was kind of cool because now I got more equipped in what I was doing. So I did 2 group flips with the team that I formed, and then I was able to utilize or leverage some of the relationships I had cultivated out there. So I had partnered with 2 other business partners that I met in Detroit. So we kind of put our own business together. We just successfully closed on our first flip together actually last week in Martin Park. And then I have my rental property that I bought on my own that I'm in construction on right now.
Okay, cool. Is that rental property a single family home?
Yeah, it's a single family home.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so you've done 3 successful flips so far, and then you have 1 or 2 projects. Do you have a rental property and another flip going on?
Yeah, so we're
4
actively
flips.
in another flip right now, and then I have the rental project that I'm working on right now.
And you're doing still the mortgage
broker
at the same
yes.
time. Okay, gotcha.
Busy bee.
Yeah. What kind of loans do you do, and what kind of loans do you provide? Is it because we've connected you with some hard money lenders through that? Have you used those lenders, or does your company provide those kinds of things?
That's a great question. So let's talk about that. So traditionally, I do your standard conventional jumbo FHA, a lot of non-QM loans. And during the process, when you guys had connected me with like Kiavi and like Lima One, for example, I did have the opportunity to work with Kiavi and another lender that one of my teammates had partnered me with that his sister works for.
Nice.
But I say all that to say, because I'm in mortgage and now, people are wanting to work with me in terms of like the investment side of things, I'm like, I need to start offering fix and flip loans myself. So I was able to actually partner with Kiavi now. So now I'm actually offering fix and flip loans myself through Kiavi.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I got a great relationship over there with the lady that helped me with my first loan, and then also my new account exec over there. So I offer loans with Kiavi now because I felt like since I'm going to be doing fix and flips, I'm already doing mortgages, I need to have that other piece to my business model.
Gotcha. Love that. Okay, cool. Have you done loans with Kiavi yet? Or
So actually, I'm glad you asked that. I'm actually closing on my first fix and flip loan with Kiavi on Friday.
Amazing.
And the loan's actually a fix and flip in Detroit that a friend of mine had referred this couple to me. They were purchasing their first fix and flip, so
amazing.
It got me an opportunity to get my feet wet. So I'm closing on my first one this week on Friday.
Awesome. Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm saying that because it's nice when it's just so hyper focused, where like your mortgage business is focused on Detroit fix and flips, and then you're spending your day 24/7 like finding new deals, researching the city, because then too like then everything is just so much more hyper. It'd be weird if you were like doing $10 million homes in Beverly Hills and then flipping houses in Detroit. It'd be like such it'd be a very interesting like back and forth. But I like how you're kind of like merging everything.
Yeah, I'm just trying to merge everything to like one. I want to be a one-stop shop. So like now I'll give you an example. Like I have even some of my mortgage clients who are repeat clients that come to me for their purchase or refis, who are ready to get into their next investment, who may want to venture outside of California, or even if they want to stay in California. Now I'm able to offer fix and flip loans to them, and also I can share my experience with my fix and flip journey, and they're getting excited. They're like, okay, well now I want to park my money somewhere else. So what I've been doing, a lot of my clients who I've had over the last several years who have built a lot of equity into their homes, they're coming to me to pull cash out. Now they're ready to do their fix and flip. So I just kind of created like this streamlined business for all of my clients depending on what stage they're in their investment journey.
Yeah. Love that. Next, you got to buy the house, renovate it, rent it out, sell it as a turnkey rental to your clients in California who want to buy rentals in Detroit, and you fund the loan.
There it is.
There it is.
You got it. Exactly.
Love it.
Exactly.
Love it. Master plan.
Yes.
Coming together. And I mean, it's a win-win for everybody. Like, you take the deal start to finish, and then they get a turnkey rental property at the end. All the loans are streamlined. And especially if you do the fix and flip loan with Kiavi and the refi or the sale with Kiavi too, it helps with like the points and fees. And
it does, especially for our own projects. You know, I have a little more control over the cost and over the whole loan process itself, which I felt like was very important because after acquiring one of my first fix and flip loans for a previous project, I was looking at all the costs and fees. This was not with Kiavi, but a different lender. And I'm like, man, you know, I wish I had a little more control over this. Yeah. We didn't have to pay all that, you know? So I think that's just pretty important since I'm a mortgage broker. That's the value that I add to my investment team. So I wanted to make sure that I show that value in all of our deals and to my other clients who are trying to get on board with me.
Love it. Cool. Yeah. What's the goal with all this? So you bought your first rental property. You have this group of investors. Now you're like building more Detroit relationships and kind of like growing with like the realtors and contractors, which is fantastic, by the way.
Thank you.
What is the goal? Is it like to just continue what you're doing and doing more of it? Or are you going to like change focus and go more towards like because you have so many different avenues you can take right now.
That's a good question. So where I see this going in the next, few years, my personal goal is I want to continue building or adding more doors to my portfolio.
Okay, gotcha.
My main objective when I first started venturing into the Detroit market, I wanted to buy more like duplexes and multi-units. So that's next on my radar is to find a multi-unit. In the next several years, I want to at least have 10 doors under my belt. Okay. I say the next 3 years, at least 10 doors under my belt. And then taking a step further, I want to get into more like development projects. I see in Detroit specifically, they have a lot of revitalization programs going on. They're pouring a ton of money into Detroit. So I would eventually like to go into some type of major development project. And so that's why I kind of like being boots on the ground, being a part of the construction phase. Couple years ago, I was able to invest in my first syndicate deal. Okay. So I've been learning about syndication. So I can honestly see in the next 5 years, creating my own syndication deal for a large project. And that's ultimately what I want to do in the future. Love it.
Awesome. Yeah, when I went to Detroit, I was like, man, this place is crazy.
They're doing so much. Insane. And like I said, this year alone, I've been out there like so many times. And like every time I come back in town, it's like, okay, this is new. And I don't know if you've been seeing what they're doing out here. Like in Inglewood, for example, they just opened like the new stadium and the Cosm and stuff. They're opening up a Cosm out in Detroit. Yeah.
Wow.
They're building that right now. They're building a bunch of new things. They're building a new public transportation system. So just those little things that they're doing lets me know, okay, hey, in the next 5-10 years, Detroit's going to be on fire. So I want to get in now with my rental project so I can reap the benefits of the upside of the market when that happens.
Exactly. Yeah, so we did like a bus tour, I don't know, a year or two ago in Detroit. People from all around the country came to Detroit, and I was like, it's going to be okay. And I took 2 huge ass buses and drove people around, and they, you just see them, like you see their thoughts of Detroit when they land is like, fuck, like, what is this? What am I getting myself into? And then like you take them to some of the neighborhoods and they're like, what? Like I could live here. And this is like $80,000 houses. And then we were all staying downtown, and we got this hotel, and we did like a presentation for them and stuff. And it's like, all right, we're going to go walk the dinner or walk the drinks after. And then it's like, they're walking around Detroit at 10 p.m. at night. It's like in there, it's like right along. Yeah. Like you shouldn't be doing this. And they're like walking around fine. And it's like, yeah, see, like Detroit downtown is so nice. And you have all the stadiums there.
It's really nice, especially like, I like Midtown. And right now they're doing a big project where they're pouring, a bunch of money into the New Center area. So like where New Center is right by Midtown. So like I've been looking at properties like over in that area because they're going to be pouring a lot of money where the Henry Ford Medical Center is. So, and it's funny you said that too, because my first time in Detroit, I didn't know what to think. And I was like, okay, Detroit, you hear all these like negative things about it. But the more time I spent in Detroit, I'm like, actually, it's a really nice city. The people are really nice. I mean, of course you have your neighborhoods, but at least for me personally, I haven't had any negative experiences out there. And the neighborhoods itself, like if you go into the right locations, I mean, they're beautiful. I would live there too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've had like more scary experiences in like Chicago suburbs or Memphis, Tennessee suburbs.
Okay.
Where I'm like, oh God, I'm not walking up to my own house, you know?
Yeah, it can be scary.
Yeah, but in Detroit, it was like, it felt totally fine, and it felt great.
They welcome you out there. I mean, of course, you want to be paying attention, keep your head on the swivel out there. But for the most part, like, I mean, most of the negative experiences I've had, just like most people who invest in Detroit, probably steal your furnace or something like that. But I haven't had any like, moments where I'm like, oh my God, I'm in fear.
Love it.
Yeah.
So the fix and flips you've done in Detroit, those have been retail fix and flips?
Yeah. So actually, I'll take that back. They two have been retail fix and flips, and then the last one I just sold a week ago, that was an off-market deal.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So like one of the my business partners, he gets a lot of off-market lists. So he had a deal that was presented to him in Martin Park area. So just to kind of put things into context about how that deal went, we got the deal for $70,000. It was a 2-story, 4-bedroom home, and we put $80,000 into it, and we just sold it for $240,000.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that was a slam dunk deal. Now, I'm not going to say we didn't have any issues that we ran into during construction, but for the most part, it went really, really smooth, and it turned out beautiful.
Awesome.
So that was actually one of my best projects that we just did.
Yeah. That's amazing. And $80,000 is a lot of renovation.
It is.
Have you done anything like in the $30,000 to $40,000 range, or have most of your deals been that kind of numbers?
In terms of like the
construction,
the budget, actually, so one project we did out in the 48224 area, like
nice.
Was it East English Village or English Village area? That one we had a renovation budget of about $40,000, and so we purchased that one for $60,000.
Okay, nice.
And then we put about $40,000 into that one, and we sold that one for $150,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you been okay? So you haven't been putting tenants in any of these?
No.
Okay,
So we've
just
been
listing them on Zillow.
Yeah, just listing them as just doing straight fix and flip.
Yeah.
But this next one that we're working on, I think we're gonna do a turnkey situation here, just because the margins are really tight. So I believe what we're going to do for our exit strategy is when this one is done, we're going to put a tenant in there. And then my goal is to list it through FlipSystem as a turnkey rental, just because for an actual fix and flip, we're not going to get the value that we were looking for.
Gotcha.
On this one. Yeah.
Gotcha. Wow. So you've been have some pretty big hits, because normally I tell people like $10,000 to $20,000 profit is like a great base hit, but yours have been like $100K or $80K profit, $50K profit, $50K profit.
I mean, just the last couple, I'll say that. Like I said, the first one was a bust. The one after that, we did have, it was about $15,000 profit we made. It was pretty, standard with what most flips you would get. But these last two, we just came across the right properties. And I feel like that definitely, contributed to me being out there, boots on the ground. I was actually able to be there, look at the property, again, going back to those relationships that I cultivated, these people know Detroit, so they were able to kind of bring their expertise and bring those deals. Another thing too, I would say that's helped me with building relationships and getting the right like off-market deals, for example, is I'm heavy on Facebook and different investment groups. So like if you go onto Facebook and join like those Metro Detroit investor forums, like those really help too, because you can identify a lot of like good solid deals that come across those groups, I should say. So I try to take advantage of those opportunities as well. But I will say, like I said, those 2 months I was in Detroit, I was able to really come across some slam dunk deals just because I'm there, where I'm able to really dissect the deal, really put a solid construction budget together because I'm there, not just relying on someone else. And that was really helpful for me because I was able to learn a lot. And so now when I look at a deal now, I can be like, okay, this is going to be about XYZ to renovate. I got all my materials organized now, so I can actually quickly identify what to look for. And two, it's actually helpful as well. I really enjoy talking to my team with FlipSystems, because I can run stuff by them like, hey, what do you think of this? Or what does this look like in terms of a construction, aspect? Or, hey, this came up on the inspection report. And that feedback that I've been getting has been very helpful to make sure I make the right decisions.
Love it. Awesome. Yeah. Have you tried to make any offers on any duplexes, anything like that?
Okay, when I first, last year I did, and this was another education moment. I put in 2 offers on 2 duplexes, and then when I flew out there to go look at them, the area, I was like, okay, this is not the right move, especially for me starting out, because again, the area was just not there. But so I haven't got a chance to put any new offers in on any multi-units, but that is my number one goal moving forward to 2025. For me personally, to build my rental portfolio, I want to focus strictly on multi-units. But if a single family comes up, I'll take it.
Well, yeah, especially if you have those kind of margins on your fix and flips.
Yeah, and then too, because the single family I bought, it actually was like not even on my radar, because again, I was looking for multi-units, but then I found this tenant occupied one that just needed some light cosmetic rehab, so it was already cash flowing really nicely, so the deal just made so much sense. And so now I still have a tenant in there, but he's actually moving out next month. So now I'll be able to really get in the inside and finish renovating the kitchen and all the stuff I want to do to do the BRRRR strategy.
Gotcha. Okay. The duplexes are going to be tougher to find in the kind of neighborhoods that you've been flipping in.
Yeah, and I've noticed that. So I'm going to have to go into more of the...
You're going to have to change your mindset around that, because, like, just think about it. Go to any amazing neighborhood. What do you picture? You picture like, single family houses, row by row, everything is the same or whatever. You don't imagine like nice single family, and then duplex, and then like nice. They just didn't build the city like that.
Yeah.
And most of these cities are built in 50s and 60s, and they just built them all like that. And it was like, all right, duplexes, like more affordable housing. Cool. Let's put more people at a duplex, 4plex, 8 unit, 10 unit, 2. So that's how they were built. And that's still how they are. And it's like your rent goes from like $1,500 for a single family to like $800 or $600 for like a 1-bedroom. So now you have like people that are just making less money living in these places, and there's just more people piled into the same square footage.
That's true. Yeah.
So like it is going to be a little bit of like a shift for you, especially with like your 180 ARV, 250 ARV. Those are going to be way different. Like that's suburbia. And now you're going to have to get, unless you were doing stuff in like mid-city and stuff like that.
But the price points in those areas are a little bit, higher. Yeah. So you're right, to kind of get the right multi-unit in a certain area, you're going to have to like change your strategy and your budget a little bit. Otherwise, you could find some great duplexes, but the risk tolerance, you're going to have a higher risk tolerance in those other neighborhoods is what I found out. And then also too, just even from the course, I'll say like Cleveland, Ohio, and that market, it seems like you find better, from my understanding, better opportunities for multi-units. Yeah. That is an area I do plan on getting involved with at some point once I kind of feel like I've mastered the Detroit market. Yeah. We'll see what happens for next year. Things have changed. Market's going to start doing another shift. Yeah. So I feel like maybe beginning of next year I'll be able to hopefully find some better opportunities with the multi-units. But if not, still stick to the single family.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm not saying you can't. It's just going to be like finding. I mean, just think about just pure inventory. Like there's like 3,000 active listings in Detroit right now below 150K. It's like what percentage of those are duplexes?
That's true. Yeah.
Geez, like 100 of them.
That's
you know
a
what
good
I mean?
point.
So it's like finding a needle in the. So I also don't want you to stop doing what's making shitload of money right now too. So like, you can still do this, but then also too, if we flip 3, 4, 5 houses, we make 10, 20, 30 grand a pop. Cool. Then we can go buy like an 8-unit building, or then you can get into something where you have like way more control than just like a duplex, and then it's like the neighbor's duplex is dog shit, and then it kind of affects your rent.
Yeah, that's a good point. One area I will say that I've been trying to target, but the values have been rising so quickly, is in the Bagley neighborhood. I'm sure you're familiar with that area. And it's just funny because when I was out there earlier this year, looking in Bagley, I started to see the prices rise, and it was hard to get in that neighborhood because everyone was just coming and buying them up cash. fast forward, like some of the same properties or similar properties, I should say, in that area that were going for, let's say, 120 not renovated. Now they're like 160 not renovated.
Yeah.
So you can see the shift happening rapidly in those high, high market areas. I'm just like, oh my God.
Exactly. And that's what happened in Cleveland. So like Cleveland's going to be tough if you want to get into it right now. And you've been blessed with Detroit inventory. Nothing in Cleveland. It's going to be cricket. It's very, very tough.
Why is that?
The margins are, there's just less number of deals. The purchase prices have gone up. There's so many active investors. Detroit still has the Detroit stigma, I'll call it.
Okay.
Well, like a lot of people are just like, oh, hell no, I would never invest there. But Cleveland's kind of grown in popularity. I saw the same thing with Memphis. I eventually got priced out of Memphis, Tennessee.
Really?
Cleveland, Ohio has been really, really tough for for everybody in FlipSystem.
Okay.
So we've been moving people to St. Louis, to Detroit, to Cincinnati, other markets, Toledo, instead of Cleveland, just because it's so much. You're seeing how much time and effort it takes to like maintain a team, the relationships, learn a new city, all of that to be like, yeah, for like one deal a year. It's like, well, fuck. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
so we need to be investing in places that do have that deal inventory so that you can go and do those trips and it's worth it because there's so much opportunity out there.
That's a good point. I have a question. So like with all the different markets that, you've been dabbling in, what would you say is your favorite market right now for turnkey flips and stuff?
So the two biggest markets right now, the two biggest and best markets are St. Louis and Detroit.
Okay.
And Detroit also has some benefits over a lot of benefits over St. Louis. One of them is that Section 8 pays a premium. There's a lot more inventory, like probably like double or triple the amount of inventory. And St. Louis has a lot of like red tape bullshit that you have to deal with.
Oh, okay.
Cleveland, Ohio also has a lot of red tape.
Okay.
Detroit is like the Wild West.
Yeah, I've learned that they do things so differently out in Detroit, and I'm just like, me being in California, the way we move out here is totally different out there. And I'm just like, what is going on?
That's so
So
funny.
I had to kind of, change my approach and my mindset with doing deals out there in Detroit, just because they operate just on a totally different level. They
crazy.
Let a lot of things slide, or they're kind of a little slower, in my opinion, in terms of getting stuff done. But I just had to kind of adapt to that mindset that they have, and I'm like, okay, just as long as you know what you're getting yourself into and how they operate, then you won't feel like you're losing and going in the wrong direction.
Exactly. The craziest market ever was Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis, Tennessee, you don't need a general contractor license to do renovations below $25K.
Oh.
And most of the houses I was doing was like 20K. This was like back in 2015.
Okay.
15K renovation, 20K renovation, and it was a 25K renovation. No permits needed, and you don't even need to have like a license or anything.
Oh my gosh.
So you can get like and that would make the bid even cheaper because they didn't have to go and get licensed, and they didn't have to have licensed workers. So I was like, all right, well, can you guys just make sure you have insurance then?
Yeah, no, seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, did you have a lot of boots on the ground, or did you find in your beginning of your real estate journey have to constantly go back and forth to kind of be your own boots on the ground?
I never went back and forth.
Okay.
I never did what you did.
Okay. I'm just really hands-on. That's how I learned. And to be honest, I know a lot of people's investment journeys different in terms of their approach. Me coming from the real estate industry, I just really like to be hands-on. I love construction. I love to see a project go from start to finish. So and I just like to be there. And another thing too with construction out there is different from out here in California. Like they have basements and sewer line stuff that we have to be mindful of. And so me being out there and being a part of what's happening, that has actually taught me a lot in how I approach my flips as well, and budgeting for those unforeseen things that happen.
For sure.
So that really helps.
There's it depends on who you are and if you like being involved in that process and want to learn that process. And I mean, you're used to like flipping houses and see them. I never had that. Like, and I flipped 650 houses. I've probably seen like 30 of them. Okay.
And I want to get to that point too. I think right now, since I feel like I'm in this training stage for myself, I think once I get to the point where, I got the system on lock, then I probably won't be going back and forth as frequently, because then I'll feel like I can trust the people on the ground more, which I feel like I'm getting to that point. But I'll give you an example. Just last week when I was out in Detroit, went to go check on the property, and I met the general contractor, and I'm like, no, I don't like this. What's going on? And he's like, I'm not used to my investors being this involved. I'm like, you better get used to it. I'm involved. Like, I am involved. Like, everything from picking the finishes out, because that's just something I like to do. So, but everyone's different. And two, with my work schedule, I work remote a lot, so it just makes it a little bit more easy for me to be on the ground, I guess.
If you enjoy it, hey, it's your business. You can do whatever the hell you want to.
Exactly.
And especially if you're out there like finding new GCs, because the FlipSystem GCs, like the people we connect you with, will not like that. They're gonna be like, get out of our fucking hair.
I discovered that, and I get it. They have a bunch of investors that they work with, and so once I kind of saw that their style of business a little bit different than mine, I was like, okay, I'll still work with them, but I want to be hands-on, so let me try to cultivate some of my own relationships.
That's great.
But now I feel like a couple of solid GCs on the ground that I trust, that have proven that we can get the job done. So I think we're in a good direction at this point.
Love it. Awesome. I want to bring back the Detroit duplexes and fourplexes. So there is a bunch of neighborhoods right now that, like, kind of like Bagley, you just have to find the cheat code is to find the next Bagley that is rough to walk and drive, and like, especially you being a female, driving around those neighborhoods alone. Like,
for real.
You got to find the next Bagley that, like, you're like, ooh, I don't know about this. Just buy it. Spend a couple $1,000 renovating it. Make sure you can still get like good tenants in place, not like a D or F class neighborhood, but like a C or B minus, like something that is not really to like your 150, 250K ARV standard. Just buy that duplex for, I don't know, 60, 70, 80, $100,000. Turn it over, put some tenants in there, Section 8 or not, and just hold that shit.
Okay.
And you just hold it for 2, 3, 4 years. You just buy it. You just buy it well, where you know that like this area is going to transition.
Okay.
And that could be like a real unlock for you in 3, 4, 5 years, once you see, because Detroit as a whole is going to go up, but then the fringes are going to go up even faster.
I see.
And so when we were in Cleveland, Ohio, and Memphis, Tennessee, like, the market was appreciating at 8% per year for like 3 to 5 years. Our houses were appreciating at 18%.
That's good.
Because we were choosing like the right
areas,
pockets. So think about that when it comes to, like, I know there's not many options in Detroit, especially if you're trying to find them in good neighborhoods. Like, I just lower my criteria for not an A class, not a B class. Let's do a C class or a D plus duplex. And like, ooh, I don't really like this, but 3 streets away, they're like doing this brand new apartment building. Oh shit, they know something. Or there's a new yoga studio or a new coffee shop, or like these things are happening in this area, which makes you want to go ahead and invest and then like just hold that thing long term.
Okay.
Because the numbers are going to be insane on the deal, but you're not going to like the neighborhood. So to compensate for that, you can also just put in like a ton of vacancy and maintenance, like percentage or like holdbacks and shit.
Okay, that makes sense. Is there any particular area in Detroit that you've been seeing that may be the next best thing for duplexes and stuff? I mean, because I know the area that's kind of like outside of Boston, Edison, has been a hot topic for multi-units. It's a little bit rougher in those neighborhoods, but from my understanding, like those target areas, I mean, the ARVs over time, I mean, you're looking at about 300,000 plus for the right, on the right block, but it is rough. So you just have to kind of, and that was actually in that area was when I first put my first offering on a multi-unit, but again, I wasn't as knowledgeable when I first started, so I kind of got a little nervous. I was like, maybe not right now.
And that's near the Edison. What did you say?
Boston, the Boston Edison area, like Boston, like Rosa Parks Street. Like Chicago
gotcha.
Street, LaSalle, over in that area.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So I've done stuff so that's Boston Edison. I've done stuff in this neighborhood right here.
Yeah. Okay. So this is that's the area I was talking about. I can never say that.
Yeah, I don't
first.
know what for you listening, it's Petoskey Otsego.
Yeah, there you go.
Good luck with that one. Okay, so you're right. Bagley is where I've done a ton of duplexes.
Okay.
I've done a shitload of duplexes there because it is like the duplexes are so. There's like a street here called Eileen, and I've done like a ton of stuff on Eileen Street.
Okay.
Because it's like it is like one of those places where it's like a duplex and a single family, duplex and single family. So it's kind of interesting. And I've done a ton of stuff in Bagley all the way up to like 8th Mile.
Okay, nice.
To 8 Mile is pretty good. And then you can even come over into this way, into the like west of Bagley.
Okay, that makes sense. Like, let me see. What street is this right here?
That is 39, Highway 39, or
okay.
Southfield.
Because I know Bagley. When I am trying to get over in that area, I usually try to find something close to like Livernois and that main street. And then there's a couple of communities right outside of Bagley, but the same zip code that are like up and coming. Like, so I'm familiar with Eileen Street, for example. Yeah. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Anything just around Bagley is going to be pretty good. Okay, and then I'm going to change directions on you. East Point is going to be like your typical just like single family home neighborhood. Very few duplexes, but really solid if you just want to buy something. Okay, now you said you did something in East English Village.
Yeah, so in 48224, or sorry, English Village. I always get East English Village and English Village confused. East English Village is more closer to downtown, that 48214 zip code. But 48224, there's
Okay, so 48224.
Yeah.
Okay, you got to do 48224, but on this side, on the rough side.
Okay, because that's going to be
on the north side of the freeway.
Most upside of over time. Okay, that makes sense.
So that is because this area is really rough. Like between East Point and 48224.
Yeah, it's a little.
It's rough.
Yeah.
But right on this fringe here, which for you guys listening, it's like Moros Road. Like right around there.
Ross and like Matt or Warren, I believe.
Yeah, whatever the hell this freeway is. So there's Moros and a freeway, 48224 Harper Woods. Like that whole area has already started to transition. I bought a house there for $50,000.
Okay.
Section 8 tenant in place, 100% rent, covered by Section 8 for like $1,200 a month. Tenant left like 3 months ago. I cleaned it up, re-rented it out Section 8 for $1,300 and sold the property. I bought it for $50,000 and I sold it for like $120,000.
Nice. Oh my God. I love that.
In like a year and a half.
I love that.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like if you do that, but just like duplex version, because that's what I mean. These rougher neighborhoods that are appreciating have that duplex inventory, but you just kind of gotta like open your mind up to doing it. And then just like, because there's even, just think about insurance for everything too. This is always what I go back to. Like, all right, my biggest risk in this deal is that I'm going to put shitty tenants in place. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to like beef up my numbers for the vacancy and maintenance. And then I'm worried the tenants are not going to pay. Okay, then get a Section 8 tenant. Well, no, I got a cash bank. Cool. You can get insurance on the tenant so that if they don't pay,
oh, that's right. They help pay that vacancy.
Exactly.
You're right. Well, obviously you're right, but I've seen those insurance policies where they say they'll even cover the vacancies. And I'm actually glad you brought up Section 8. Section 8 because that's been a hot topic. A lot of people who've been asking me about Detroit, they're like, "What do you think of Section 8?" And I think it's great, but I haven't had the opportunity to utilize Section 8 yet, so I think that's going to be my next venture. So I want to ask you, like, what have been the pros and cons of Section 8 and Detroit specifically?
Yeah, so pros of Section 8 in Detroit is that it pays higher than the market rate. So average single-family house in Detroit is like $1,200 cash. Section 8 can pay $1,300, $1,400, $1,500. So you get a benefit. You get more rent by renting it out to Section 8 versus other markets. The biggest con with Section 8 is that you're just dealing with the government. So it's just slow. Okay. So like, because cash paying tenant, we can go list a house in Detroit and we get it rented out next week. They move in the week later. With Section 8, now we got to follow this process. Now we got to wait for the voucher. Section 8 does an inspection. They don't like X, Y, and Z. Fix X, Y, and Z. Now it's like a 2-month process instead of like it could be a 2-week thing.
I see.
That's the only con.
But the good thing is, like you said, you're getting above market
more
and
rent,
it's
guaranteed.
So
exactly.
I just gotta out.
And especially in those rougher parts, like those fringe areas that are appreciating, like it's great to get those those kinds of tenants in there because Section 8 has like, a drought. They need tons of houses to fill. They have so many
housing out there, so they want to be able to have more people like ourselves be able to offer these homes on Section 8.
Exactly.
Would you say like the tenants that you've had in those Section 8 properties, I mean, have you had positive experiences with the upkeep of the home? Or because a lot of people always think like Section 8, like, oh, they're gonna damage the property, but I've heard a lot of great things with the tenants that people have had with Section 8. So have you experienced any like positive?
I've had only positive.
Okay, good.
I haven't had any negative. Obviously there's gonna be negative,
of course.
But I've also had I've had people like do some crazy shit at my houses, but like the Section 8 tenants have never done anything to mine, but out of the 650 there's probably been like 50 that were kind of like Section 8. So like I'm leaning way more on the cash paying tenants. So I have a lot of cash paying tenant horror stories. The Section 8 out of those 50, I haven't had any. I mean, maybe there's been like one or two people that either stop paying their portion or do some crazy shit, but they lose their voucher. So it's on their best interest to fuck around.
They can lose it if they do something to the house.
Exactly.
What has your experience been with evictions in Detroit?
Evictions in Detroit take a little bit longer than like a redder state.
Okay.
But they're not too bad. I would say that it takes like 60 to 90 days to get a tenant out in Detroit.
What about so evictions in Detroit compared to like Cleveland, Ohio, for example?
Yeah, so Ohio will be like a 30-day.
Oh, okay, so it's faster.
Way faster, yeah. Okay. Way faster, and it's just way more like cutthroat. Like if you don't pay rent by the 10th, then like you're going to court in 2 weeks, and like the sheriff's coming, and like you better be out of that house.
I like watching the YouTube videos of like the evictions and stuff like that. I know what I'm getting myself into.
Well, hopefully you don't have to be involved in that. Just pay a lawyer $400, and you're gonna get into one eventually.
Yeah, you know what? Eventually, and I feel like that's just part of the game. Like I keep telling people when things come up during your flips and stuff like that, like I'll give you a quick example. Like when I went out to Detroit, I had a big sewer water line issue, and that's going to cost me like almost like $14,000. That was kind of like blowing my budget. I'm like, okay, that's not what I was expecting, but it has to be done. But if you just kind of go into every project with the mindset like, hey, you have your buffers, these things are going to happen, and that way you don't get all flustered. It's just part of the game. You're going to take some L's, which I turn them into lessons, and that way you'll know what to expect moving forward. So so evictions I'm sure will come up at some point for me as I keep building my portfolio, but as long as you're prepared, then it shouldn't have that big of an impact on your business.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all about mindset.
Yeah, exactly, the mindset. 'Cause, a lot of people will get into flips and these things come up, or they don't get the profit they were expecting, and it's okay if you don't make a home run on your first deal or second deal. I mean, as long as you're gaining the experience, over time you're going to make better decisions with your flips, and you'll be more prepared. And I just feel like that's just part of it. Yep,
exactly. Yeah, and I think the more you go on, the better lessons you have, and then you also figure out like what you like to do too. Like some people, it's like for example, doing what you're doing, like the luxury fix and flips, or not luxury, but like the fix and flips, the retail fix and flips with like choosing this and stuff. I'd be like, no, please God, I don't want to do this anymore. Like it's just different for everybody. And
it's a lot. And I think too, to that point, eventually as I complete multiple different projects with different strategies, eventually I'm going to say, hey, this is the strategy I want to like focus on. Like I know for me on a personal note, like I want to continue focusing on the bird strategy, but then also I'm still doing different fix and flips and turnkey stuff like with different partners and the group. So I feel like over time I'm going to evolve to where I'm like, hey, this is strictly my focus, and this is why, and I've tried all these other things, and this is actually what works best for me. So I think it's just best to try different strategies, single family, duplex, fix and flip, buy and hold, whatever that looks like for everyone, and then just kind of figure out what makes the most sense for you long term. Exactly.
What has the highest amount of return with the least amount of stress that you can see you can do forever. Because some deals just like stress people out. Like retail flips would stress me out because it's like there's only one option to sell. So
yeah. And I think too, like another approach that I've learned from being in flip systems is when I analyzing a deal, I like to make sure I at least have 2 different exit strategies, not just this is the exit strategy, because as we know, things come up and the market shifts, and you want to make sure like, okay, how I'm going to get out of this deal, or how am I going to pull my money out, or whatever that looks like. I just always like to have multiple exit strategies. And that's really key for anyone that is getting into flipping or investments, who is new. I always tell people, make sure you're tight on your, deal analyzation, and make sure you have multiple options to get out of that deal so you don't feel stuck.
Exactly. Love it. Love it. That's what preaching to the choir here.
No, I know. And I've learned and that's why I want to say thank you for having me too. And just everything that you've done with your career. Like, I've just learned a lot just with the videos, and I really enjoy the support system that your team has in place, like with the Tuesday calls and stuff like that. Just even though I'm not on them all the time, but at least I know they're there, and I can always reach out to anyone on the team that if I have a question, like you guys are like so good at that. And I think that's really important to have that support. So I always advocate, like, hey, if you want to get into this, type of business, join FlipSystem. Like, you're gonna have that support.
Awesome.
So
thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for coming. It was a great conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to, hopefully see you again in the future, and sharing more of my success stories and lessons along the way, and doing more business with FlipSystems and other people out there.
Love it. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye. If you enjoyed this and want more free content just like this, there is a free course that I posted on my YouTube channel. It's over an hour and a half long. Click that, go watch that, and subscribe. See you on the next one.